Hi there! Before we start, I would love to show you a new way to contribute to the Hanami mastery content. If you know great gems you wish me to talk about, or have amazing ideas for future screencasts, now you can suggest them by opening a GitHub discussion threads. To do so, just click on Suggest Topic button at the very bottom of any article or episode on Hanami mastery. I will gladly cover them in the next episodes. And if you like my videos, hit a like and subscribe to the upcoming releases to never miss the published content. Now let's go to the topic. If you're working with API, data serialization is definitely the feature you would love to be done well. Data serialization refers to transforming your data objects into representable JSON output. A similar thing happens when you work with regular server-side rendered views. In that case, however, data is transformed into an HTML output instead of JSON. In Ruby, there are several gems that take care of the task, one of which is Active Model Serializers, or AMS, the most famous implementation of the JSON serializer for Ruby. It's a very old library and possibly the most known one. Then we have JSON API Serializer, a community-managed descendant of FastJSON API gem to keep that great project alive. Next you have Blueprinter and Panko, and several other gems you could use to achieve this task. However, if speed is like air for your application, then you would be only interested in the fastest solution available on the web. The fastest serializer for Ruby application I'm aware of is Panko Serializer, however, is a C extension gem. So chances are you would look for alternative pure Ruby solution. This is why in this episode I will go through the fastest pure Ruby serializer available currently. Meet Alba. Alba is a well-maintained JSON serialization engine for Ruby, JRuby and Truffle Ruby implementations. And what I like in this gem, except of its speed, is the easiness of use, no dependencies, and the fact it plays well with any Ruby application. It had been created by Okura Masafumi, a pretty active Ruby developer, organizer of Kaigi on Rails and several other Ruby initiatives. By the way, Alba uses GitHub discussion threads for collecting feedback, ideas, and discussions about the development, which I was inspired on. If you tried it out, feel free to share your thoughts with the gem's author to make this library even better than it is right now. I have here the scaffolded Hanami application with users repository pre-set up, so it's extremely easy to add or list records in the system. As always, you have the complete source code linked in the episode, so feel free to check it out if you need a more detailed look at it. Additionally, I have already talked about basic persistence in Hanami applications in episode 9th and 18th, so I will not go through the details this time, but feel free to check the mentioned videos. They will be linked in the related resources for sure. To start using Alba, I will first add it to my gem file together with the OJ gem, and then install them via the bundle install command. OJ gem is not required if you use the default configuration of Alba. In that case, Alba works out of the box. However, it truly shines where it's optimized for speed. To do that, I will create the serialization provider where I will require Alba and configure the OJ as backend. I'm going to create a new provider named Serializers, and inside of it, I configure Alba when the application starts. This way, Alba will be required and configured only after calling boot on my application, and it won't slow down the console, nor unit tests, or all sorts of rake tasks. Now let's try it out. Let me create a new get endpoint, fetching the user information. In the router, I'm adding the proper route handler for user index and show actions, and then creating a simple action to play with them. Next, to inform my browser that all my responses are in JSON format, I'm going to add a before hook in the base action of the main slice that will set the expected format before each call. Having that, I can create a new file for the user show action. It uses the user repository to fetch the requested object and validates the URL parameter, ensuring the safe coercion to an integer. This way, I will always work with integers in my system, and stringified number will never leak into my application code. Finally, below I will customize my handle method to find the user based on the ID read from the URL and setting the body to the Alba serialized response. Similarly, I will add an action to list all my users in the system. The same thing, but no validation for now. We could add some filter checks, pagination parameters coercion, and so on, but I will keep things simple for now. Then let me create the new user serializer. I'm going to create a new folder in my main slice named Serializers and define Alba resource there. I want to wrap my resources under the user wrapper. We can do so by using the root key macro with the expected key inside. To define attributes, I will use the attributes macro passing names as parameters. If your attribute needs some basic transformations, you can use an attribute with a block. Here I will add a full name to be listed instead of first and last name as separate fields. Now, let me add a few records to the database using Hanami console. First, I get the user repository from the main container and then paste some already prepared records. Now, when I will run the server and visit my user path, I will get the information about the given user in the system. It's awesome. So let's check what's under the /users endpoint. Alba Serialization works out of the box for collections, which is great. However, there is no root key visible here, which is a bit inconsistent. To fix it, in the serializer, let's add the root key for collection. This nests our whole collection under the user's root key as one could expect. You may also specify this key inline by passing the collection root key as a second argument to the general root key, depending on your preference. That's already awesome. However, as it's often the case when it comes to great gems, we have just scratched the surface of possibilities. Alba comes with a rich set of features. For example, it allows transforming nil values easily to deliver readable defaults. I will now set my serializer to fill all nullified keys with the guest string using the onNil method. Then I'm going to update my full name method to return nil in case both first and last name attributes are absent. Now, when I will visit the user endpoint to check the third user, I will get pre-filled values in the response body. But it's not the end of the list. Alba allows you to transform keys using the injected inflector. It works by default with active support inflector, but it also supports the dry inflector, which is default gem in Hanami. The only thing I need to add to the serializer is transform keys to camel and enable this feature in the provided file. With this, our JSON response will look a little bit differently. There are several options you might use to transform your keys. For example, you can dasherize your keys and even write your own inflectors if you wish, which is not super hard to do. The final thing I want to show today is the inline serialization. Alba comes with the Serialize class method that allows you to define a serializer inline if you don't want to create a separate class for any reason. In my Hanami action, I will now use the inline definition of serialization method by changing the attributes a little bit to show the difference. Now in the browser, you may see the new attributes listed. As I've said, I barely started covering the features Alba provides. It supports relationships, attributes filtering, error handling, and circular relationships control, extendability, conditional attributes, and more. Aside of that, Alba is the fastest Ruby serialization gem out there, with some caveats. For sure, Pancode gem is faster, but it's partially written in C. Secondly, at the moment Alba does not support the JSON API standard, which I'm keen to see, and I'm curious how it will perform in comparison with JSON API Serializer, which is optimized exactly for that API standard. I love this gem, however. It's extremely well maintained, extendable, rich in features, and very fast. Not sure what else one could expect from the serialization engine, and if you hadn't used it yet, make sure you give it a chance. Let me know what you think. Unfortunately, that's all I have for you today. If you want to see more content in this fashion, subscribe to my YouTube channel, newsletter, and follow me on Twitter. I want to especially thank my recent sponsors, Benjamin Klotz, Salon.com, and Brandon Waver, for supporting my project. I really appreciate it. By helping me with monthly GitHub sponsorship to create this content, together we really start making a difference in the open source world. Thank you all for your support. And remember, if you want to support my work even without money involved, the best you can do is to like, share, and comment on my episodes and discussion threads. Help me add value to the open source community. As usual, here you can find 2 of my previous videos. Thank you all for watching, you are awesome, and have a nice rest of your day.